Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to another stream. Feels like it's been a little while, honestly, because I couldn't do the last stream because my internet was playing up. But there's some good news is I've managed to get some new internet, improved my Wi-Fi, so I've replaced my old one, got a new one, so the stream and everything should be completely fine now. Shouldn't have any problems with any connection issues right now, so that should be great. So today we have a rerun of a collab that it's been like a couple years, I think, since this collab first came out, and I'm more excited about this one honestly because Tales of Berseria is the only Tales game that I've actually played, and I played through the entirety of Tales of Berseria, so I like that game personally, and I know who Velvet Crowe is, so I'm more excited about this collab because I just want Velvet Crowe, honestly. So that's going to be quite exciting, I think, and also there is quite a lot to cover today, so this will definitely be a longer stream than normal because they have also added insight for the rerun characters, so I definitely want to cover that as well. I won't go super in depth, but I will cover the exactly what's been added in the insight because, you know, going through the entire kit of all those three characters as well as the new characters take a hell of a long time. But let's start it off, as we always do, having a look at the news. As you can tell, I'm on my new account. I'm going to be using this account from now on because I just prefer this account. I don't care much about my other account at the moment, so I'm just going to be on this one. Let's just have a quick look at everything that's in this update today, and then we'll go over the unit and stuff. I think this should be pretty fun. So, there's a lot of things in this update, I think. Obviously, we've got the collab. Collab's always fun. Definitely a good time to reroll now. If you were considering rerolling before, then now is a good time to start rerolling because obviously you've got collab, you can start rerolling for the units, and there's quite a few banners going on, and there's also the starter dash banner, which is still the best banner in the game, so make sure to reroll if you're interested in starting the game, then now's a good time for it. We do have a Redux, the Center of Heroes Festival banner for Shift Adele. Honestly, Shift Adele, Great Hero Adele, is a very good unit and one of the better PvE units in the game, so because of that, I do think this is a good banner. Now, obviously it's got the UI in it as well, but that's pretty good, but it's basically the same banner as the first banner when Shift Adele released in the 5.5 year anniversary, I believe. He's a good unit. I mean, I wouldn't. I think it's a good idea to throw a couple of single pulls on this banner if you don't have Shiverdale because he's a very good unit for clearing the story and hard bosses and stuff. So I managed to get him on this account, which was very nice. I just did the step up gacha and managed to get him. So he's a unit worth considering because he's a very good unit. Even though there is a collab going on, if you can reroll and get the collab stuff, then maybe consider trying for Shift Adele a little bit. You don't need to go super hard on him. I think Beast Mayhem, that always comes back, some shop updates, Lost Cloudia rewards. Okay, so that's everything in this update, but obviously we've got the collab itself, which is the main, main focus of this update. So let's have a look through this. We've got obviously Velvet Crowe, looking awesome, love it. And we've also got this arc. These are characters from the game. I know all these characters because I've played the game, and it's a great game, honestly. I do like it. It's mostly story focused, but yeah, they're all characters from the game on the ship. You know, it's nice. And then I don't know anything about Tales of Arise because I haven't played it. I was going to play it at some point, but I decided not to because I was playing other games. I just didn't feel like it because I know Tales games are quite long and they're more story focused games, so I couldn't really find the time to get into it, really. So he's going to be next week, I believe, in part 2, which would be fun. I don't know what he's going to be about. He looks like he's going to be a fire damage dealer using a sword, of course. That's what I'm going off of based off the art, but we don't know anything else about him yet. So if you're thinking of, if you should pull or not, just wait for part 2 and make sure you get all the tickets first. It's always the most important thing. Obviously, we've got Redux units and arcs. I want to talk more about these a bit later on. We've got Stahn, Luke, and Yuri. These 3 units are still pretty good, considering they have now gotten insight. I think Stahn and Luke are probably going to be the better ones. Yuri has always been the not as useful unit compared to Luke and Stahn when they released, so I think Yuri's the least important one here. I'm more excited about Luke because he has a hell of a lot of extra hits and he's always been a great unit. When he released, he was incredibly broken, so I'm hoping his insight makes him strong enough to now actually be viable, because that would be great. I know Stahn is definitely going to be more viable now if he gets insight, so Stahn and Luke definitely going to be very good units. And then these arcs, I'll talk more about these later, just to mention what skills they have, just so you're aware of what are the useful arcs to get. But I think Ultra Chronos is definitely the best one if you're considering getting one of these. Definitely Ultra Chronos is a good one. Redux unit and arc guaranteed. So you can get one ticket to choose any one of these units or arcs. What I recommend doing, what everyone should be doing, is if you're missing something, then save this ticket till the end, because you never know, you could get something from your tickets from the event, or maybe you get something from doing some polls, who knows. So I do recommend to save this select ticket until the end, so then you can do all your collab ticket summons first. That's always the best idea. So I'm going to be saving this ticket for now until the end of the collab. I will talk more about that a bit later, and then obviously got a bunch of equipments and stickers, all that stuff for the event. It's great. You can get up to 50 gacha spins in this collab, which is very nice. I'm assuming that's including Redux tickets, but I don't know. We get a good amount of Part 1 and Part 2 tickets for collabs, we always do, so that's very nice. Insight has been added to the collab units. Great. I will be covering this a bit later on, because this is going to be quite good, I think, and quite fun. If you have the insight materials, it might be worth considering getting them insight, because they could be pretty strong. And obviously the event itself, we do get a couple of events, like time trial ranking is in here on 6th February apparently, and there's some other events and stuff going on. Unit test play quest, insight play quest, definitely be doing those later. Unit damage rankings is something new, which I think this is going to be quite fun. So it's a new form of ranking event, so this is a completely new type of event. Basically, for this event you are required, so you have to use those units, but they provide the units and the build. So basically they give you Stahn in this stage, and he's in your team for that stage. Whenever you go into that battle, he's going to be there, and you can use 2 of your own units, but one unit will always be Stahn. You can't change them out. So it's basically trying to make your team focusing around that one unit to make sure that unit does as much damage as possible. I think this could be fun, and I think this is definitely going to be a fun event to mess around with for sure. Training field, always a nice event to have for sure. That always comes back. It's a pretty common event, nothing special there. Event equipment and credential equipment alchemy. So the Redux units now have Godforge for their paid equipments. So you can get their paid equipments in the Crimson Ore shop, and then you can get them Godforged. So that's definitely a good idea, because it is a limited thing. You can only do it for this collab, and once the collab's gone, you can't Godforge the paid equipments again, and you can't get them again. So definitely recommend to try and get them if you can. If you plan to use the units, try and get the paid equipments. Some of them are pretty good. I think Luke's paid sword is pretty strong, but his accessories not very useful. And Stahn, both of his paid equipments are pretty good. I don't know much about Yuri because I never really used him that much. Collab challenges, make sure to do these, they're pretty easy. You can get a few tickets and stuff from there. Login bonus, you can get some tickets from here, so make sure to get those. Same thing with part 2, more tickets, always great. So gachas, part 1 gacha of course, and we've also got step up gacha, ticket gacha, basically all the normal gachas that we always have for collabs. The first gacha, the normal one, and then the step up, and then the ticket gacha. The part 2 will be next week on the 30th of January. And there is also another banner, which is the Redux collab gacha. I do want to talk a bit about this because this one's interesting. They've done this gacha a bit differently, so they've increased the rates of the Redux banner, but you can only select one unit and one arc on rate up, but you can select any unit and any arc that you want. So it's a 1.2% chance instead of the normal 0.8%, which is great. And you can choose 1 unit and 1 arc on that gacha. And I think this gacha is going to be a pretty good one. If you are missing everything, like my account currently missing everything, then I think putting a few crystals into this banner is not a bad idea, because you can get, there's some good stuff in here, so I think this banner could be pretty useful for most people. And obviously the ticket gacha for the Redux units and arcs as well, so make sure to use those first before you go on this banner, but it really depends. If you're missing everything, using a couple of crystals on this banner before you use any tickets isn't a bad idea. Just, you know, make sure to be careful with crystals. Don't spend too much on the Redux banner, because they are old things from a few years ago, so the arcs are more likely to be more useful than the units, but the units do have insight, so they can be quite useful. Trading space, things in the shop, not much else to say about that. Okay, so that's pretty much everything in the news. There is obviously going to be this share promo. You can get some more tickets there, hopefully, later on, so that is everything for now. Quite a lot of stuff in this update. Now let's go straight to the gacha and have a look at what is in part 1 today. So part 1 has Velvet Crowe and the Compass LR arc. I think they look pretty good. I haven't looked super in-depth into Velvet Crowe's kit. I had a brief look, but I haven't gone, you know, full in-depth, which is what I'm going to do now. So this should be fun, I think. Let's have a look first. So, Velvet Crowe. She is a dark damage dealer, kind of what I've expected, honestly. A soldier, of course, would make sense because she's a human type in the game. Of course she'll be a soldier in this game. Not that late, doesn't matter too much. So, her stats looking pretty nice. Attribute resistances, -32 Thunder. It's a bit weird, because she is a dark damage dealer, so having -2 Thunder is a weird option, but I'm not going to complain too much about it. Yeah, if she wasn't dark, it would have been strange. I mean, because of the red, maybe could have been fire, but dark makes the most sense, because, you know, she's always been like a purple dark type character in the game, so yeah, dark definitely would have made the most sense, which is great. Ailment resistances, nil to curse, no resistance to stun, weak to illness. Not the best, but it could have been worse, honestly. Having some stun resistance would have been nice. Let's go over to the abilities. These get more interesting, I think. Her skill 1 is definitely the main focus of her kit, so her skill 1 is probably going to be the most important skill to use. Consuming Claw, instantly close the gap. I love having a close the gap skill on a skill 1. It's great. Very useful. Medium area dark combo attack, and it gives the Therionized buff from the trait Therion's effect. So we will talk more about what that buff does exactly once we get to the trait, but basically this skill 1, close the gap skill, gives her a buff, which we'll talk about soon, and that's going to be very important in her kit, so make sure you use her skill 1 quite often, because that buff's going to be quite important, I think. Her skill 1 is 7 hits, so honestly, her skill 1 is looking pretty great, because 7 hits is a decent hit count for a skill 1 in my opinion, and it looks pretty fast, so you should be able to spam this pretty fast, and I'm definitely going to test that out later on, but so far her skill 1's looking pretty good. Skill 2 and 3 don't look as exciting to me, but they still look cool. I like the animations of them, but they're just typical skills, they don't really do anything extra. Skill 2, frontal medium area dark combo attack. This one has 14 hits, which is okay. Nothing really to say about that. Same thing with skill 3, forward dash close in for a medium area dark combo attack. This one is 20 hits on the skill 3. Could have been a bit higher than that, but alright, I guess. So definitely skill 1 is looking to be the main focus of the skills on this unit. The special, dark combo attack to one target, and then it does a powerful dark combo attack to all enemies. So in total, this special does 52 hits. I didn't really have a look at how many hits a single target. I would assume most of them are, but I don't know. I never really focus on special that much unless the unit has a hell of a lot linked to special damage and damage cap. That's the only time that they're really useful. So skills, nothing super special here, but her skill 1 has definitely got some unique effect attached to it. So let's have a look at exactly what that is by having a look at her traits next. So trait 1, when 2 weapons, sword and or claw are equipped, then physical damage, physical attack and special damage cap, damage 30% and damage cap 20,000. So when you have 2 weapons, basically they want you to have a sword and a claw, pretty much. Or you could have 2 swords or 2 claws, but you're probably better off having a sword and a claw, honestly. Probably because you would have some sword and claw boost in a kit, I'm assuming. So make sure you have swords and claws only, and make sure you have 2 weapons, because if you don't have 2 weapons, you're missing out on this part entirely, the damage and the damage cap. So she's definitely locked to being dual wield only, I think. You could probably make her work single wield, but I don't know if it's viable for PvP, honestly. I haven't really looked. Let's have a look anyways. When taking lethal damage, survive and greatly restore HP, and restores 1 SCT stock for all skills. That's very nice. And restores special gauge by 30% once per wave. I think it's pretty useful because it's basically an improved version of whatever these skills are that allows you to survive lethal damage, determination, or whatever. Basically like that, but obviously it's got more effects to it. So restoring 1 SCT stock for all of your skills, very good. And restoring 30% of your special gauge, not as useful, but it can be useful in some scenarios, so I do think that's pretty nice. Honestly, on her trait 1, there isn't really that much here. You're just getting 30% damage and 20,000 damage cap up here when you have 2 weapons equipped, as long as they're sword or claw. And then when taking lethal damage, so there isn't really that much tied to her trait 1, but it's pretty nice though. Trait 2, this is where it gets more interesting, I think. Most of her effects are on her trait 2. Each time defeating an enemy, so every time you defeat an enemy, it boosts your physical and special damage cap. And the maximum is 10,000 at 10 enemies defeated. So after you defeat 10 enemies, you get 10,000 damage cap for your physical damage and special damage cap, which is pretty nice. This does basically mean that she's going to be better in waves or boss stages that spawns enemies. So if you're just up against one boss enemy that doesn't spawn anything, then you're missing out on 10,000 damage cap. It shouldn't be a big deal, but 10,000 is a lot on a dual wield type unit, so keep that in mind. If you want her to reach maximum damage cap potential, you're going to have to kill some enemies first. I would assume it's probably 1,000 damage cap per enemy you kill, because it's 10, so that just makes sense to me. And it doesn't reset each wave, which is useful to know. When using skill 1, here we go, it gives the unit the Etherealized buff for 8 seconds. So for 8 seconds, not very long, but as long as you have enough SAT and you keep spamming your skill 1, I don't think it's going to be a big deal. You should have this buff active most of the time, as long as you have the SAT. And getting your skill 1 back is pretty easy, compared to if it were to be a skill 2 or a skill 3. If it were to be a skill 3, and it only lasts 8 seconds, that would suck, because getting a skill 3 back is more difficult. It requires more seconds than a skill 1, so that's good that it's a skill 1. So what this buff does, when this buff is active, it continuously cuts this unit's HP, but physical damage cap plus 30,000 and give physical attacks an anti-all enemy effect. This is very important, and I love this here. So let's just go through this buff. To summarize it, you use a skill 1 and it gives you this buff for 8 seconds every time you use this skill 1, right? And what this buff does is it lasts 8 seconds, it gives you 30,000 damage cap, but it continuously cuts your HP, so kind of like Berserker or something like that. But on top of that, the most important effect here, I think, is the give physical attacks an anti-all enemy effect, which, you know what this means? Is all of her physical attacks will have Slayer effect, which is amazing. That's just ridiculously good, and I think this could make her pretty damn strong for a physical damage dealer, and it does make her, you know, more useful. She can be used in against more enemies, more stages, because having Slayer to every single enemy type in the game, as long as you have this buff active, is incredibly good. And I think for that reason, she's probably going to be a useful unit for newer players, because having anti-enemy, all enemy type effect is going to be very good. Obviously, you've got to have the buff active for that to be active, but it's not a big deal. Obviously, if you don't have that buff active, you're probably not going to have that much damage and be losing out on a lot here, but because it's quite easy to get this buff, I don't think it's a big deal. It's a very good effect, so just make sure you use your skill 1 very often. That's going to be the skill that you want to use the most. Probably what I would do is combo her skill 1 into other skills, so probably when I go into a battle, if I were to use her, I'd probably go skill 1 first, and then maybe use a skill 2 or skill 3, and depending on how long those skills last, I might use 1 or 2 of her skill 2 and 3, and then go back to skill 1, use another one of those, something like that, but it really depends on how fast her skills are. If you're tight on SCT, then definitely comboing her skills together, use her skill 1 first, and then skill 2 and 3 afterwards is going to be what you want to do, I think, to get the maximum damage out of her. Some very good traits here. I do like her trait 2 the most. The trait 1 doesn't have very much on it, but the SCT, when taking lethal damage, very nice. Can be quite useful for PvP as well, because taking lethal damage, restoring SCT, very useful in PvP, but even against bosses, if she can, you know, if she takes lethal damage against a boss, restoring SCT is still useful, and the special gauge is still useful, so I do think it's quite nice. Yeah, I had a brief look at her skills. They don't look incredibly fast like Sonic or anything fast, but her skill 1 definitely looks quite quick, so I'm hoping her skill 1 is spammable enough. But I don't know if you would even want to spam her skill 1, because that is how she gets her buff. It really depends, I guess. If you can take advantage of like Honey Elixir and stuff like that, then maybe spamming her skill 1 could be pretty good, but I'm going to be testing that out a bit later on, hopefully, in the unit test play quest to see exactly how her skills play out, but for the moment, traits look pretty strong. Now let's go to her skills. I haven't really looked at her skills at all, so hopefully she has some good stuff in here. Attack up max, Fighting Spirit 5, and Fighting Spirit max. There we go. We finally got Fighting Spirit max in the game. Great. So she should have a lot of strength, right? A decent amount of strength and HP it looks like because of these 2 skills, and having attack up max. All of these for strength. Very nice. Critical up 3. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Fighting Spirit max is the first time we've seen this. I haven't seen this before. It's funny. It should have had this ages ago, but whatever. Critical up 3 is always great to have, because honestly I never use it, because 7SC for critical up 3 is just never really worth it. So having it on a unit, always great to have. Advanced aim vitals, more crit damage, quite nice. Proud Force, always great to have for more healing. Definitely going to help with her, you know, her Theory and Ice buff, because that cuts her HP. So restoring HP is definitely going to be important on the unit. Illusion, never really cared about it too much, but it is useful. Divinity Saber 2 is interesting. I believe this is the first time we've seen this as well. So what would this do? Obviously, it's going to be Divinity enemies, right? Physical and special damage dealt 20% and damage cap 3000 to Divinity types. Interesting, so technically she does do a bit more damage to Divinity type enemies, kind of like Divinity Slayer, but is a Saber instead. It's nice. 19 others have Fighting Spirit max. Well, I don't know. I forget. Yeah, Divinity Saber definitely new. Anti-type boost, anti-type breakthrough 2, more damage cap. You know why this is great? You know why this is great? Because physical attacks, all enemy anti-type, right? So anti-type damage and anti-type damage cap is going to be super effective on this unit. Reason being, this right there, having slayed against every single enemy type in the game, any type of anti-damage on damage cap is going to be so good. So I'd highly recommend trying to put on as much anti-type damage and damage cap as possible, because she's easily going to be able to take advantage of that. That's why I think the event sword giving anti-type damage and anti-damage cap is going to be a very good sword on her, honestly. Even though it's free, it's actually quite a good one, because it synergizes with Velvet's kit pretty well. Auto critical, auto haste, very nice to have, all of those. She should have Brave somewhere, right? If not, then it might be on her paid, I don't know. It might be down here somewhere. Shadow Armor 2 on the unit, very nice. Take less light damage, I believe. Light attack damage. Dark attack damage 30%, and dark attack raise for more damage and damage cap, very nice. And crit raise, awesome. Pose of Glory, piercing, dual wield. Of course, she would have that. Unclad power, even more strength. Great. Starting to get a lot of strength now, I think. Now we get onto the weapon boost right here. So she has Claw High Boost and Claw Giga Boost. Interesting. More damage cap here. So if you want the maximum damage and damage cap, definitely have a Claw equipped. I believe her paid is a sword, which is interesting, but it makes sense. Technically, you don't need a sword then, right? You could just have 2 claws. But it basically doesn't mean you must have a claw, otherwise you're missing out on all this damage here, so make sure you have a claw. Special Boost 3, 50% damage for his specials, very nice. Skill Charge 1, of course. I would expect her to have Skill Charge 1. I hope she has Transcend's Skill Charge 1, it would be nice. Decoy, very nice. Dog Eat Dog 2, you know what's funny? Is this was learnable on a UR arc recently, but now this unit already has it, which is interesting. Yeah, you could use Trishula, but I don't think it's a good idea, you know, because sword and slash or claw, so you can't really use Trishula, you have to have a sword and a claw, because if you use a sword, if you use a claw and a machine, I don't think this will be effective, so you can't really use Trishula with this unit. You can't really use any other weapon other than a sword and a claw, I think. I mean, you can make it work, you're just losing out on a hell of a lot, I just don't think it's worth it. Close combat, I do like this one. Physical damage 20% and damage cap 2000 to the closest enemy. Very nice one, I like that. Important things, now we get onto her unique skills. First one here, Continuous Grand Brave, there it is, obviously she would have that. And Continuous Speed effect as well. Battle start, damage taken minus 60% until a skill is used. Well, that's hardly ever going to be active, it doesn't really matter too much. Unless you want her to just be a tank, which I don't think is a good idea at all, because 60% by itself is just not enough to make her a tank, so that effect for the damage taken minus 60% can mostly be ignored. When revived, get a buff to nullify damage taken equal to 2 times the unit's strength. Interesting. 2 times the unit's strength though, it really depends on how much strength she has. I know she's going to have a good amount of strength, but how much exactly? If it's like 4,000, 5,000 around there, I think it'll be okay, but it's not going to be anything amazing. I mean, if it was 5,000, that would be 10,000 HP shield, basically. Well, nullify 10,000 damage, which is not bad, it's pretty good, honestly. So, it's pretty nice. I wish it were to give that buff at the start of the battle as well, that would be very nice, but still a good skill to have. Special damage cap, 40,000, okay, some special cap, quite nice. Chance for specials to deal critical damage cap 5,000 when you have a claw equipped, then damage cap plus 8,000 more. I believe what this means is it's critical damage cap. So you get 40,000 special damage cap, right? But the other damage caps, so critical damage cap plus 5,000, and then the plus 8,000 more damage cap is actually critical damage cap, because it says more. So it doesn't mean 8,000 damage cap, it means 8,000 more critical damage cap. So yeah, they didn't word it that well, but I know what they're trying to say, and I get it. It's supposed to be 8,000 more critical damage cap. I just wish they said that, because some people may think, oh, you get 8,000 damage cap. No, it's only critical damage cap. You are getting quite a lot of crit damage cap though, so her crits should be hitting pretty hard. Laffy sets support. Continuous high protection, quite nice. Heal a random basic stats element every 20 seconds. Not going to be very useful. HP recovery from allies' active skills. So that means if you have a healer in your team, then Velvet Crowe is going to take... she's going to get 30% more healing, basically. Yeah, I'll be reviewing the Insight much later on. That's going to take a bit of time, but I'll definitely get there eventually. Just making sure to cover the new stuff first. Constant combat. Each sword or claw equipped, crit rate 3% and damage 10% and damage cap 2000. Very nice. So this is more telling you that you have to have a sword and a claw, or swords and claws, you know. You must have a claw at least. And then the other weapon can even be a sword or claw. Gives you more crit rate and damage cap. Very nice skill. I do like this one. A very good one. I'm just living the way I see fit. So, Rerun Ice buff active. So when you have this buff active, when defeating an enemy with a physical attack, it restores HP by 30% and skill 1's SCT by 8 seconds. Very useful. I love that. So if you kill an enemy, it restores your skill 1 by 8 seconds. If you add that on top of Pose of Glory, which restores 5 seconds of SCT, you're restoring quite a lot of SCT for your skill 1, I believe 13 seconds. Pretty good. Very nice. So I do like that one for sure. Some very nice skills up here. I like all of these. Obviously she's more of a damage dealer focus unit, but I think she looks pretty good. Now let's look at the Transcend Sixth Heart skills. Physical damage taken minus 20%. Crit up 5%. She does have quite a lot of crit rate. I think that's pretty good. Critical damage 30%. More crit damage cap. Quite nice. Claw Mastery, more damage and damage cap. When you have a claw, SCT recovery speed and anti-type boost. I love this one because she's got the all enemy anti-type effect, so this will be active all the time as long as you have that buff active, which is amazing. You get 20% damage and 3000 damage cap. So overall, I think she looks pretty damn good, and I think that she's going to be a very strong unit in terms of PvE content. She might be useful in arena and guild battles, but honestly, I don't really care much about arena and guild battles anymore, so I'm mostly focusing on PvE content on my account. I can take it from both ways though. I can see that she can be a pretty good unit for sure. She has potential in arena and guild battles, but it really depends. Because she's dual wields, I think that makes her less useful, because PvP is more aimed towards single wield units, and it has been like that for a long time, because it allows them to get more damage. But because she has all enemy slayer and quite a lot of damage and crit damage, I think she could have enough damage potentially in PvP to be able to kill those tanks. But I'm hoping so. I don't really know. It's definitely going to need some testing. But for PvE content, she's definitely going to be a great unit. She can't use Trishula, so enemy resistance might be a problem in some stages. But apart from that, she's a pretty damn good unit because she has this anti-all enemy effect, which is going to be incredibly strong. And I love that. And she has some pretty good damage caps. And she just looks like a very fun unit and quite a strong unit for sure. So honestly, I like Velvet Crowe because I've played the game myself, so I definitely want this unit. But if you care about meta, I say wait a bit, just so some people can test her in PvP first if you care about that at all. But if you don't care about arena or guild battles that much, then it's really up to you if you want to pull this unit, because she seems like a great damage dealer. But if you don't need a damage dealer, then you don't need this unit. But if you just want to have some fun and you like this unit, then go ahead and pull if you want to. That's probably what I would say. Like, probably not going to be super meta, maybe, because I don't see her breaking any DPS ceilings, because our current ceiling with Shaltia is way too damn high, so I don't think she's going to be a time trial type unit, and we're going to have to wait and see how she plays out in arena and guild battles. So it really depends on if you like this unit. Like me, I like this unit, so I'm going to get her at some point. But if you only care about meta, definitely wait for some more testing first of all. I will come back to Velvet a bit later on. Let's have a look at the Arc next. Arc looks interesting. I haven't looked at it too much, but I do think it has some useful stuff here. let's have a look at the trait first. Sword equipped, so when you have a sword, physical damage 30%. And when you have a claw equipped, crit rate 5%. Okay. Obviously this is synergizing with Velvet Crowe, of course. When you have a sword and a claw equipped, then SCT recovery speed 10%. Nice. It's not much, but it's something, I guess. When close to death, very great restore HP once per wave. Nice. When defeating an enemy, boost physical damage cap, maximum of plus 5,000 damage cap at 5 enemies defeated. And it's not reset each wave. That's why I think this is a very good arc trait. Because 5,000 damage cap for a dual wield unit is quite a lot. So I do like this trait, and is actually a pretty good one. If you have Velvet Crowe, this is probably going to be one of the better arc traits to use for Velvet Crowe. Honestly, yes, we've got UR arcs, but if you don't have those arcs, then this is probably the better one of the best ones to use for Velvet Crowe. But apart from Velvet Crowe, how useful can it be for other units? Well, not as useful, but it can be useful for the damage cap, because 5,000 damage cap on a dual wield unit, definitely useful, for sure. But you have to defeat the enemies first. As long as you're defeating enemies, it's a pretty good trait, for sure. And the reason why I think it's good is it's all physical damage, and it gives you crit rate, ACT recovery speed, and all physical damage cap, so it's not tied to a specific element. That's why I think it's a pretty good trait. You can use this on multiple units, you can use it on a lot of different units, as long as they have a sword or claw. I think it's going to be quite useful. So definitely a good trait there for sure. A nice one. I do like that. Now let's look at the learnable skills. Haven't looked at this too much. Shadow Rush can be a nice one. During 50 plus hit combos, dark physical damage cap plus 1,500. For 3 SCs, not bad. Laffy's healing. HP recovery cap from allies' active skills plus 1,000. Because it says allies' active skills, this means it buffs your allies, so not the unit that equips it. So if you equip this on a support, then technically that support won't get HP recovery cap, won't they? You have to use it on a different unit, which is kind of strange. But would I use it for SC? No, because 1,000 damage cap for healing just doesn't really matter too much. It's just not that important, so I probably would never use it. Pirate's Feast is I love this skill, right, but it's on pirate ship, and I mentioned it in my reroll video that Pirate's Feast is an amazing skill to have. But if you didn't get pirate ship from the reroll, or if you don't have pirate ship yet, then Pirate's Feast is here. So if you do manage to get this arc, then it's another way to get Pirate's Feast if you don't already have it, so that is quite useful. Giant Killing 2. I know Giant Killing 2 is on existing arcs. I believe it's on Holy War, right? If you don't have that, then this is another way to get Giant Killing 2, so this does add more value to this. Even though we've seen these skills before, if you don't have those arcs, it just gives more value to this arc, so I do think it's quite nice. And then the final one here is probably the best skill here. Sword and claw equipped, physical damage 20% damage cap 2,000. So this, you can not take advantage of this that much. Basically only Velvet Crowe can take the most advantage of this because she has a sword and a claw most of the time. I can't really think of any other unit that would want to have a sword and a claw. Maybe Ray or some unit that uses a claw and a sword. I can't really think of any because there are a lot of units in the game, and I can't really think of any that use a claw and a sword at the same time. That's very specific, that's why. So I think this is good, is a great skill, but you just can't take advantage of it that often, and because of that, if you don't have Velvet, I think this skill is not going to be that useful. Even though it is a nice skill to have, I just think the value of it is not that high because you can't take advantage of it on that many units. So I think the learnable skills on here are actually pretty solid. You've got some good things for damage cap here. Shadow Rush, pretty nice. Giant Killing 2, pretty nice too. And this skill down here, Gauntlet Blade Battle Technique. These are all great if you have Velvet, so definitely a very good arc if you manage to get Velvet. If you get both of them at the same time, definitely a good combo for sure. But If you get this arc without Velvet, it's still a pretty good arc, because you're getting Giant Killing 2 if you don't already have it, and Shadow Rush can be used on other Dark units. And this may be useful in the future at some point, so it's a nice arc. Now let's look at the Archive reward. I believe this is a good Archive reward as well, so it's actually a pretty solid arc all around. This is an accessory. HP, Strength, Defense, Mind, looking pretty nice, but the trait is the main focus of this accessory. At the start of the battle, it restores your skill-free SCT by 7 seconds, and 5% strength all the time. Yeah, it's a very nice accessory because restoring SCT is very valuable on, like, in most cases. Restoring SCT, very valuable, so I think this accessory is definitely going to be a very nice one. I don't know if it's worth chasing for this arc. Like, it seems very good, honestly. Now I've looked at everything, there's a lot here that's useful, so it would be a nice one to have, and for that reason definitely adds a lot more value to this banner. So I do think it's a good idea to try pulling on this banner, because Velvet Crowe, great unit, and it also has a great arc on this banner as well. So try to get at least one thing from this banner if you can, because they are both very strong, and if you get the arc, it's great. If you get the unit, it's great. You can't go wrong with either one. Obviously getting both would be the best case scenario, but can't win them all. I'm going to leave it there for the moment, and I will come back to Velvet Crowe later on. Hopefully we can get some good luck in the summons later, but I'll worry about that later. Let's go to the training space, so then I can have a look at her paid equipments, because I believe they're pretty interesting too. Right here. So she has a sword and an accessory. A sword is a weird option to some people, because some people are thinking she has claw boost. Well, it's because she uses a sword in the game, right? And a sword makes sense. She uses a sword quite often in the game, and it just makes sense to have this sword. So I understand why they chose a sword. A claw would have made sense as well, but not complaining. Yeah, her claw is literally part of her, so you can't really have a weapon equipped on her that is a claw, because her claw is already her, you know. Basically, a claw is her hand. It transforms into the claw, so it's not really a weapon, because she's not equipping it, she already has it on her as part of her, so it makes sense to me anyways. If you haven't played the game, then you won't have any idea what I'm talking about, but if you've seen it, it makes sense to me. So, Unnamed Blade. Dark Attribute Sword, 300 strength, looking pretty nice. The trait on this one is actually pretty strong. Dark physical damage 30% and damage cap 2000. Very nice, active all the time, love it. And anti-type physical damage cap plus 2000. You know why that is good? Obviously you know why. Because she has that anti-type all enemy effect. So 2000 damage cap for a dual wield unit, gonna be very useful. Crit rate 5%, just to put it on top. The cherry on top is the crit rate. You didn't need it, but it's there. So it's definitely a very good sword, definitely our best sword for sure. Do you need it? No, but it is a very strong one that I think is very good. I like it a lot. It's got 30% damage, it's got everything you want. Damage cap, more damage cap, and crit rate. It's pretty much got everything you want for a paid sword, so can't complain about that. Very strong. Now let's look at the accessory. Quite good strength, HP, mind, okay. The trait is an interesting one. Cut physical attack and counter damage taken based on how little HP is left. Maximum of 50%. 50% is a hell of a lot, right? But you got to remember that it's how little HP is left, right? And she is not a tank, so her base survivability not very high. This does help a tiny bit for PvE, and obviously in PvP as well, but I don't think it's going to be super important just because she is a damage dealer and that's her main role. If she was a tank, then this could be a hell of a lot more useful, but because she's not a tank and she doesn't have much survivability, I think this isn't as useful as it sounds like it is. When you have the Therian buff active, then dark damage 20%, damage cap 2000. That's pretty damn good for an accessory, honestly. 20% dark damage and 2000 damage cap when you have that buff. Very strong. I do like this. So, honestly, looking at it, She has a very good paid sword and a very good paid accessory. They're both very strong. Which one would I select? It's kind of hard to tell, honestly, because they're both very good. But because we have a lot of swords in the game, you know what I'm going to say? I'm going to say that the accessory is probably the better option, because there's less accessory options than swords. But if you do have the accessories to give dark damage, then maybe the sword becomes a bit more useful. It really depends on what you have on your account, I think. We have, you've got Equilibrium Sphere and the other one, which gives 15% dark damage, right? Which are both good accessories, so you could just equip those instead of this paid accessories, honestly. That's kind of what I'm thinking if I were to do that, and then have a paid weapon. Like, you could do that if you have those, but if you don't, then this accessory is probably the better option. They're both very good though, you can't go wrong with either of them, but one extra thing is this accessory also gives 10 thunder resistance and some stun resistance, so that does make it a bit more useful. Yeah, 3 emperors, very nice. Always gonna be. So, yeah, they're both very strong. I would love to have both of them. I recommend going for whatever. It depends on your account, really. If you have swords, then probably go for the accessory. That's what I'd recommend. The accessory is probably the easier option. Most people should get this, but if you have good accessories already, then go for this sword instead. Very nice stuff. So I'm going to leave it there for the moment for her paid equipments and everything. I've managed to cover everything for part 1, but we're not done because we still have a hell of a lot more that we need to do today. Obviously, we still got to cover Insight for the 3 units and talk about the Redux arcs and what you should be using your trade ticket on, stuff like that, and showcasing the units. That's all going to be fun, but I do want to do some summons first of all. I'm on my new account, so I don't want to go super hard on this banner because I'm trying to be smart on how I spend my crystals on this account. I don't want to just waste them, even though I really want Velvet. That's the one thing I really want the most, and the arc looks pretty damn strong. I'm not going to go super hard at the moment because we have tickets later on, and because of that, maybe you can get lucky with tickets later on, so I'm hoping we get something today. If we don't, then I'm going to hope to try and get something from tickets and daily pulls, maybe. And if I don't, then I'm probably just going to have to pity the unit because I must get the unit. And we've also got this Redux banner, which is a solid banner too. So definitely some good things available here. But to start it off, I will be using these tickets. Let's hope we can get the unit and the arc from these. I hope so. The unit is the one that I want the most though. So I'm looking for obviously the new stuff, but since this is a newer account, I'm missing a hell of a lot of things. So if there's a red, which it doesn't look like there is, but I'm gonna watch anyway. If there were to be a red, if it's new, it's probably not going to be the unit or the arc because I'm missing a hell of a lot of units and arcs on this account. Probably still gonna stay gold, right? Yeah, I knew it. Still a random chance one could be red, but it rarely happens. Obviously not gonna happen in those tickets. I've managed to get as many tickets as possible from the event, so I'm hoping this 10 board ticket gives something, but I don't get lucky from tickets that often. Probably not get anything, but I hope we do. The rear. Yes, don't be a blue. Damn it. I don't like saying blue because it just feels like it's not as good, but you never know. One. No, there's no reds in there. Yeah, unless one goes red randomly, which it probably won't. Pretty much what I expected from those tickets, honestly. I haven't gotten anything. No, I did my summons on my main account already, didn't get anything either, so this will be my main account, so I'm trying to get more lucky on this account. Once I sell my main account, this will be my main account. Let's do lap 1, and that's all I'm going to be doing for lap for the step gacha, and then I'll definitely be using some free crystals to try and get something, because I would very much like to get Velvet today, if possible, because she's definitely a unit I must have on this account, because I like Velvet. It's a very nice unit. Let's at least see some reds, because I'm not seeing any reds yet. Looks like a no. That was weird. I'm missing a hell of a lot and I still get dupes. I don't know how it's possible. But I've been getting arc dupes and stuff recently and it's a bit weird. Considering I'm missing so many things. Can we at least get a red in here, maybe? And hope that it's new? Maybe. I would hope so, but I don't know. It is a gold, but it doesn't mean anything because it can still stay gold, you know? That's why I'm not hopeful yet. Needs the animations. 1, 2, 3 animations is the best you can get. There's a red. Can you at least be the unit or the arc? If it's new, it's not guaranteed because I'm missing a hell of a lot. Yeah, how the hell do I get dupes? I'm missing a hell of a lot on this banner. On this account, I still managed to get dupes. It's crazy. Because you look how many arcs I have. I don't have many SSRs, right? I'm missing most of them. And I still managed to get dupes. It's ridiculous. I think it's a bit crazy. So, we do get more tickets later on. I definitely want to use those. I already did a couple of pulls on this banner and managed to get those 2 arcs, which was nice. I do want to try and get Luke. I will talk more about the Redux stuff a bit later on. But first of all, I want to do a couple more summers on this banner. Because I do still want to try and get Velvet as soon as possible. If I get the arc, that's great because I would like the arc too, but the unit is what I really want the most of all. The rear, maybe. I'll probably do singles after this temple if we don't get anything in here. Yeah, kind of expected that to happen, honestly. That happens sometimes. Oh, really? That's crazy that you would do that. Still a dupe. So, how? How? I have to question how. I'm gonna do singles from here. Because there's zero reason to do temples. I don't know why I even did a temple. We're just gonna go through these quickly and see if we can get something new. I'd really like to get the unit or the arc from these. And then, if I can get one of them, then I will save and take it slow. That's my plan. So I'm gonna try and get something new. But I'm not gonna spend everything yet. Because I'm trying to be smart with crystals on this account. As much as I can. If there ends up being something new, it will appear on the screen right here. But it's not going to be guaranteed to be Velvet or the Arc, because I'm missing other stuff as well, so just keep that in mind. Probably going to be surprised with a random, here's a Shin or something that you didn't want. It wouldn't surprise me. I would expect that, honestly. All of these crystals I've managed to get from grinding over the past week and a half, so I'm prepared for this. If I can get some damn reds, that is. Because I'm not seeing many reds. I haven't even got anything new, and I just think that's crazy, considering this account is a week and a half old-ish, and I'm getting dupes somehow. The SSR card I would like to have is Icy Guardian, honestly. But I didn't want to say it because it might just appear when I don't want it to. Like right now. I don't want that to happen. Might be here for a little while, but I have to give it a try because I really want some things from this banner. It's a very good banner. Velvet or the Arc. Why are you connecting? Don't waste time. I know what I should do is I should move to Steam because I'm not using any more. Well, that's dumb. I'm not using any more paid crystals, so I can just move to Steam now. Might as well do that. Just because it's quicker. And then I'll do some more singles. I don't know how long, how many I'm gonna do, but at least try and get some reds. Try and get something. And then we will showcase Velvet and talk more about her. That'll be fun. And then go over to the Redux things. Let me quickly have a look at the trading space. I currently have 41. That's sad. I'm gonna save these just in case. I'm not gonna use them for tickets because you never know. No reason to do temples. I'll just do singles on this. Let's hope we can get something new about now. Would be nice. Do this for a little while. I don't mind doing some pulls on this banner because it's very nice. And I'm missing a lot, so. I would like more reds. I think I've used my luck up already on this account because this account's been pretty damn lucky so far. Until the collab, of course. Yeah. You know, at this point, it feels like I should just do a temple, because I'm not getting anything anyways. But I won't do that. It's dumb. I feel like I should be getting more reds than this. See, now that's max. Sure. I do need Crimson Ore for the paid equipments for the Redux units, because I don't have many Crimson Ore right now. Don't have much. But that doesn't mean I want dupes, that's not what I mean. It just means the Crimson Ore's not useless. It is something. It feels like I've done this for a long time and I haven't got a single red. Which is sad. I'll do one more temple then. I won't do any more temples after that because, you know, these animations on this one. Unlike earlier, 1 is not enough. 2's a maybe. 3 should be a red, right? Like, you're crazy. You can't tell me there's no reds, right? Having 3 animations, it being gold, right? Well, I'll probably go to around 100-ish. Then maybe stop. I don't know. We've still got tickets later. Oh, come on. 3 is by herself, so you know what that means. There is a red. Can you at least be... No. If it's new, you know it's probably going to be an SSR that I don't have. Unless it turns green. No. Well, I don't know what to say about this, other than it's pretty crazy that I've been getting dupes non-stop, even though this is a new account that I've only had for a week and a half. Crazy. Yeah. I'm missing so many arcs, and I just happen to get the same ones all the time. I'll do singles from now. I'll go for a bit longer, and then save the rest for the moment. I'm not too worried about part 2 because Velvet Crowe is the one unit I wanted, so I'd rather have Velvet Crowe than a part 2 unit. If I had a choice, Velvet Crowe would be the one that I would have. Even if the part 2 unit ends up being stupidly strong, I don't care. You know, I wanted to see something new, but it doesn't seem possible in this banner. See? Well, yeah, because I've played the game, so I like Velvet, and the story was a great story. So, I've been wanting Velvet. That's why I want to get her. Come on, can I have at least a new thing on the screen, right? Just something new on the count, because I need new things, but it doesn't look like it is. I'll just try and go through these quick. I'll get one more red right, and then I'll call it there, I think. And then I'll try and get some stuff from tickets, I suppose. Yeah, the only Tales game that I played was Berseria, so that's why I thought it was a good game. It was fun. Well, most of the story was good. Well, here, I'll explain why I do single pulls. The rate is no difference. Well, there's an SSR that I didn't have, so... Nah. The rate is no different, but... if you were to do a 10 pull, right? If you were to get the unit in a 10 pull at, like, the beginning, the rest of the pulls could have been saved crystals, so I just prefer doing single pulls. Because, yeah, there isn't really any benefit for doing a 10 pull. Like, yes, it's quicker, but that's like about it. It says you guarantee an SR plus, but it does not increase the chance. Well, I'm like halfway there, which is sad, but just can't do much about it. What I really wanted to do was, I really wanted to get one of either the arc or the unit, and then save the rest. That's what I wanted to do, but I don't think I can do that, can I? Probably not. Okay, I'm gonna go until we get one more red, and then I'm stopping the summons for today. And I mean it. No joking about that. It does suck, but could get stuff from tickets and daily pulls later on. Yeah, the smartest play is to do single pulls, because 10 pulls, you're technically wasting some crystals if you manage to get something new from something you wanted at the beginning, so definitely singles the way to go in this game if you have the patience like me. I have the patience, I prefer doing single pulls, just much better. The only difference is if you get something new, it appears after the white screen, right? It appears straight away. It doesn't. You don't see the orb glowing or anything. You don't see any of that, and you don't see the animations and stuff. But it's quicker. Well, not really. You save crystals, the main thing. So I can hope. Yeah, you do temples if you want, but I'm not going to be doing many temples. I try and I do singles because I have patience for it. I just need one red, and then I will go and showcase the unit, okay? Okay, fine. It's terrible, by the way. I will be able to at least get something before the end of this collab, but the question is, when? You know? Hopefully soon. Yeah, that's why I hate the gacha in this game. Like, yes, it can be fun sometimes if you get lucky, but... Okay, there's something. I'm not spending any more crystals on this banner now, I believe. Yeah. Yeah, the pity is, the pity's not great. But I wish the pity did carry over. So, here's the thing now, is, would I be a crazy person and just get the tickets? The answer, no, because I refuse to leave this collab without Velvet, so I'm saving them for now. Well, I will be pulling later, only at the end of the collab. I won't be pulling now. I'll be trying to get stuff for tickets for the moment. $128, almost halfway, pretty much. Kind of sucks, but can manage to get the crystals back later on, anyways. Yeah, well, I'm not too worried about it because my cat's so loud. These units give a decent amount of event points, anyways, so I'm not too worried about that. Okay. So, honestly, Compass, very nice. I like it. I do wish it was the unit instead, but I'm not going to complain about it because it's a pretty nice one, and I'm going to get the unit at some point. It's going to happen because I really want the unit, and I would have liked to get her right now just so I can build her instantly, but that just doesn't seem like that's going to happen, is it? But the good news is I at least have this for when she does come home eventually, but it doesn't seem that it's going to be yet. I mean, I could keep pulling, but I've learnt from my other account, so I'm actually going to be smart on this one. So we'll leave the summons there for the moment. I could technically get more paid crystals and get these, but I just don't think it's worth it, you know. Right. It's also, one thing to point out is it's kind of hard for me to do a equipment, you know, recommendation on this account because I don't really have the equipment to do it. But I'll quickly say that you just need a sword and a claw, and look for dark weapons if possible, and dark accessories. I don't really have much on this, so yeah. Let me just quickly show the event, and I will showcase the unit in a moment, because she does look very fun. If I go to the event, these two give 50 plus 50% event points. 3 gives plus 20%, so it's quite easy to get event boost points units, you know. I have a couple at least. Definitely need to build this unit when I can. I need more potions. I wish I could get more rainbow potions, those would come in handy right now. Also, if you haven't noticed yet, the excavation thing, right? I know it sucks, but it's so much quicker, so much faster. That's why I think it's nice, because it's just so much quicker now. It's so much better. They should have done this to begin with, but damn, it's so much quicker, and it makes me not hate it anymore, because it's not a waste of time. It's not just me waiting. It is actually quick, so I like that. Right, we still got a lot of stuff we need to do. Summons out of the way, not the best summons, but I'm gonna hope I get the unit later on, and if I don't, I'm just gonna have to pity the unit. It is what it is. Let's go back to Velvet Crowe. So, unit test play quest, Velvet Crowe's right here. Base skills and everything, 6 enhance. Equipment's looking pretty nice. Obviously paid equipments, and this is claw. Obviously you need a claw. This claw is pretty good. It's a Godforged claw. It would be a very nice one to have on Velvet for sure. There is a dark claw, but it's the one that has a chance to give poison, and it's not that useful, so it's probably just better to use this one. Accessories, obviously the free jeweled amulet will be very strong because you're getting 15% anti-type damage pretty much all the time as long as you have a buff active, so it's a very strong accessory for sure. And then obviously a paid accessory. You could go with a Equilibrium Sphere, would be very nice, plus the 3 jeweled amulet would be probably what I would consider using if I did have them. Let's go and try her out now, because I think this should be fun. I haven't properly looked at her skills and the animations and everything, so yeah, there's options, I'm sure of it. So she's dual wield. Skill 1 is a close the gap skill, and this is going to be the one that gives her her buff. But first of all, if I don't use her skill 1, what's her skills going to look like first of all? So skill 2, you can see the damage cap kind of low, right? But that's because she doesn't have a buff active, so you pretty much must have her buff. But honestly, her skill 2 is pretty fast. I do like that. You can kind of spam it. So I'm a fan of her skill 2. It looks pretty good. I like it. And then skill 3 is a bit slower, but it's not terrible. Yeah, it's cool. It's a bit long though. I do get that. Yeah, I feel like I prefer the skill 2 more, but the skill 3 is not bad. Now, the skill that we've all been waiting for, the skill 1. Consuming Claw is her main skill, right? So, use it anywhere. Now you can see the damage cap goes up a hell of a lot, and it gives her this Therionized buff. As you know, with her trait, it's going to boost her damage and damage cap by a hell of a lot. Even on her normal attacks is nice. And you can keep spamming a skill 1 if you want. It'll be very nice. And you know what? You could technically put on Rainical, because every time she gets a buff, she's going to get healed. But that's just some meme stuff. It's not going to be that effective. So yeah, the buff doesn't last a long time, but I do kind of want to mess around with this a bit more. Yeah, her sword. I do want to try out like mixing her skills together, see how they work together. That's pretty important. See how many skills I can get in before the buff disappears. Obviously, the first thing you're going to do when you get into battle is use a skill 1. You must use a skill 1. It's the first thing you should be doing. And then you can use any other skill that you want to. So she did manage to use 2 skill 3s before the buff ran out. And it, yeah, that was not bad. Yeah, 3 skill 3s, not bad, honestly. Now let's try skill 2s. Should be able to use all of them easily. Yeah. I mean, 8 seconds sounds like it's not very long, right? But when you're using your skills, it feels good because it does feel like it lasts long enough. As long as you have your skill stocks, use skill 1, you can spam the rest of your skills just fine. If you want. Then he's dead. Great stuff. So, 92,000 damage cap and 100,000 damage cap on crits. Yeah, she's definitely going to be a very good unit. That's why I must get her at some point, like, on this account. She must be on this account eventually. I do a bit more testing though. The damage cap could be higher, but I don't think it's a big deal because you have ways of increasing it, and you have to remember this is base kit, so base damage cap of 92,000, pretty good, and then on crit you're reaching 100,000 is pretty good, right? And she's not even getting damage cap from the arc right now because she's not defeating enemies. And her trait 1, her trait 2, where she gets more damage cap when she defeats enemies as well. So she is losing out on basically 15,000 damage cap from this trait and her arc trait. So she can be even higher, and that is base skills. So she can be above 100,000 damage cap, dual wield with base skills. Obviously this is including paid equipments, but it's pretty good, right? And then you can also increase it even further by obviously using skills, and I think that could be pretty good. Right, so 3 skill 3s, 2s, and a skill 3. See, that was pretty good. That's probably the best you can get out of the skill, out of combos, right? If you really want to do something like that. Skill 1, and then you can spam all of your skill 2s because they're pretty fast. And then you can use one of your skill 3s and another skill 2, and then go back to skill 1. But obviously that's just me messing around here. Like, that's probably the most max skills that I could get when not using skill 1, but skill 1 going into skill 2 feels pretty good if you haven't tried that. Feels pretty great. Yeah, I can definitely see some potential here because skill 1, close the gap, teleport to the enemy, activates your buff, and then you start spamming a skill 2 and skill 3 if you want, until the buff runs out, and go back to skill 1, get your buff back, and you know, it's going to be pretty fun. Obviously it's not going to be like a brain dead type unit where you can just use any skill and everything dies. It's got more to it, but I think that's what makes it fun, is that it has some kind of mechanic to it that's not, you know, very difficult or very annoying to deal with, you know. So I do think it's quite fun. Let's try the special out now. Should be pretty nice. Well, oh yeah. So one thing I'm remembering is obviously her Tyrannized buff is only to physical attacks, so she won't get any slayers on her special, which is the reason why her special's not hitting damage cap right now. So I think her special's not going to do that much unless you can increase its damage by putting on like special power skills and stuff, special boost skills. So her special's not really going to be that important in a kit. I think you're not really going to be using it that much, but it can do some damage if you want to, but it's not going to have slayer damage, so the damage is not as high as her skills right now. Hitting damage cap on a normal attack is pretty funny. Obviously it's a weak enemy, but 103,000. I think SCT regen things like Honey Elixir, Full Charge, those type of things will be very nice on her, because obviously the all enemy attack effect is going to be to physical attacks, which does apply to normal attacks as well. So having all slayers on your normal attacks as well, as long as you have a dark weapon, at least one dark weapon, I think she could be a nice SCT, you know, like SCT battery unit. Could be pretty decent. Obviously on this account I don't really have the SCT collab skills available, but I do have Full Charge at least. Yeah, I think I've done everything I wanted to test with this unit so far. Yeah, those final hits are against all enemies, so not many hits are against all enemies. I think most of it's single target. Yeah, she's definitely going to be a great unit for clearing story for sure, as long as the enemy does not have stupidly high dark resistance. Because if they do have dark resistance, I don't think she's going to work. Unless you can reduce their dark resistance. Maybe, actually, you could have Velvet Crowe plus Arch being melee. I kind of want to do that. That would be fun, because I do have Arch being melee. Arch being melee can reduce dark resistance, so that'd be pretty good. So yeah, in practice, she does seem pretty good. Obviously, I haven't used her in higher difficulty stages or arena yet, but I still think she looks pretty strong. And the skills look pretty good, she looks fun. I think her damage cap should be pretty high. Dual wield hitting 100,000 on crits already with base skills. Even though it does include her paid equipments, I think it's pretty solid. And you can definitely improve that a hell of a lot with arc traits and equipments, well, skills. I mean, and you can definitely get some nice damage caps and do some good damage with her there. So I think she's definitely going to be quite good. Quite useful unit. Definitely going to be great. Now, I think I'll leave it there for Velvet Crowe. She seems very good. I'll definitely talk more about her in the conclusion, what I think, if she's worth pulling and stuff later on. But there's still a couple more things I need to do. Obviously, we've got the Redux banners in here as well. So let me quickly go to the trading space and just kind of give my opinions on those things real quick. And then we can go over to the unit test play quests and have a look through all of those Redux units. I think that'll be fun because those Redux units do look pretty nice. We get one Redux ticket for free. Once you go in the event, you get one of these for free. I highly recommend to save this for now until the end of the collab, because we do get tickets from logins and the event itself, so you might be able to get something you wanted from those tickets. So I recommend just to save this for the moment. We got 3 units and 3 arcs. Stahn, Luke and Yuri, I will go through those in a moment. We got 3 arcs, I'll cover those first, might as well. Brave Vesperia. These arcs honestly are not that crazy, but they do have some useful things. I think Brave Vesperia is mostly useful for Earth Mega Drive. That's like the most useful thing here. We Make the Future might be useful in some units, but I don't ever see myself using it. Spirit Geyser maybe, but definitely Earth Mega Drive is useful. The arcade reward, not anything crazy, but it's okay, right? Battle of Eldurant, I don't have this one yet. This is the only one I'm missing at the moment, because I don't think it really has that much that useful. Like, we cannot see eye to eye is okay, right? Technically, Velvet could use it for the 20% damage, but it's just not worth it for 9FC. 9FC is a bit expensive for this. If it was cheaper, like I mean, it kind of makes sense. If it was like 8, I would consider using it. Yeah, none of these learnable skills are anything crazy, and the Archive Reward is not that great either. I mean, it's okay, but nah. This is probably the least useful one. That's why I didn't get this one, because I don't think it's that great. That's probably the last option there in terms of arcs. Ultra Chronos, definitely my favourite arc in the Redux arcs, because of the learnable skills in here. It's got Swordian Might, which is the main skill here. This is why I think it's pretty good. Swordian Might, I've used this quite a few times. When only weapon equipped is one sword, attack damage 15% to the same attribute as the weapon. It's more situational, but we have a lot of sword units in this game. As long as you have the correct elements for your unit on your sword, it's going to be pretty useful. Non-elemental weapons don't work, but every other element will. So like fire will give fire attack damage. For 5 SC, it's a very good skill, so that's why I think this is the most useful one, just for Swordian Might alone. And the Archive Reward is not the best, but it is something if you don't have many options, I suppose. I don't really use the trait, honestly. It's mostly for the learnable skills, but I still think Ultra Chronos is the most useful arc. Now, if I were to choose one of these arcs, obviously Ultra Chronos, but you do have these units as well, and it's where it becomes a bit more complicated. Like, do you want to use it on a unit or an arc? Usually it would be the arc, but because this collab doesn't have that useful arcs, like, yeah, they're useful, but not super useful, you can't go wrong with the units, because these units have insight, and they can be pretty useful, pretty strong now, I think. So my personal favourite units on this list, definitely Luke being my favourite one, but Stahn is also very strong as well. Yuri is my least favourite, but he's still a useful unit. I will talk more about these in 2 seconds, literally. But if I were to use a ticket, I highly recommend use your current pools ticket first, and then see what you don't have. And I would either select Ultra Chronos or a unit, probably. If you have Ultra Chronos, then either Luke or Stahn is probably what I would pick. That's just my opinion, though. If you get Luke or Stahn's Insight, they're pretty strong units. Luke is still great with the extra attacks, it's going to be pretty fun. Yeah, getting Stahn from tickets is pretty useful, because Stahn with Insight, his skills are very fast. He's going to be a pretty good unit, I think, and pretty useful. Because my account already has a couple of fire units, Luke is more useful for my account, but it really depends on what you have on your account, you know. All of these units, quite useful. Ultra Chronos, the most useful arc. Save your ticket for now. I will talk about Insight units right now. Let's go through each one first. Talk about Stahn first of all, might as well. So Stahn, obviously these are Redux units, so they are units from years ago, but the main difference in this collab is they now have Insight, and this is the first time we've seen a collab that has had Insight added to their units. So this is pretty interesting to me, and Insight requires a hell of a lot of materials. So I'm hoping these units should be pretty strong. They should be, like, there's no way they're not. Let's have a look at Stahn first. They do have Godforge paid equipments now. Yeah, I'm assuming Stahn's going to be pretty great. His paid equipment's looking pretty strong for sure. More break, more damage, and damage cap. More damage cap when hitting weakness. These are all great. Obviously these are only level 1, but at max level they'll be even stronger than that. So I'm not going to go through every single skill here, because all of these skills are, I believe they are base skills that the unit already has, apart from some things here that were added through Insight. I don't really know exactly what was added through Insight. I should have checked. Actually, I know how I can check, because I did make a note of those. Yeah, here we go. So Stahn with Insight has Heroism up 4 has been added with Insight. Fire Giga Drive has been added with Insight as well, and Giant Killing 4 pretty nice. 5,000 damage cap, 20% more damage to bosses, as well as armor giga boost, which is right here. Take less damage, could be pretty useful. He is more of a boss damage dealer and breaker, and he's pretty good at that, I think. One blade breaker 3 is the last one there, and obviously that's going to give you more break, but 200% more break is, yeah, it's pretty huge. 200% break is pretty great. There's also, yeah, that's all those for learnable skills up here that have been added. Everything else was already in his kit, but he does have a decent amount of break if I remember correctly, so the fact that he's getting one blade breaker 3, pretty cool. And now let's go over to the transcend, the insight skills that are going to be completely new. Everything else has been, you know, there since release, so I shouldn't really need to talk about all those. More special damage cap, honestly don't care about that too much. Special, never really used it. Single wield damage cap plus 30%, plus 30,000 damage cap. Very good. 30,000 damage cap. Amazing. You know why? Because, you know, his skills are very fast. I know he's single wield, but 30,000 damage cap, pretty great. There is also more damage cap here, I believe. Fire weak point breakthrough. When hitting a weakness, if you have one weapon equipped, plus 40,000 damage cap more. That's a hell of a lot of damage cap, right? 40,000 plus another 30,000. A lot of damage cap. Hell of a lot. And even more break. Damage cap in break. Plus 50,000. That's a hell of a lot as well. You know that's ridiculous, right? That's over 100,000 damage cap added. But they do have to be weak, and they've got to be in break to get the maximum bonus, but still it's pretty crazy. Take 25% less physical damage, boost fire resistance, and boost illness, and boost stun resistance. Honestly, those don't really matter too much. The main things here are the damage caps. They're very good. Damage caps are great. I believe he already hit pretty hard when he released, so he should have no problems reaching those damage cap as long as he, you know, hits their weakness and has the necessary slayers and stuff. He does have quite a lot of break and quite a lot of damage cap, so I do think he could be pretty good. I might as well try him out right now, just to show you exactly how he is in practice. So, not really going to go over the hit counts or anything because he's an older unit. Don't want to go super in depth, but you see his skills are all very fast. I've always liked his skills. He's already reaching 182,000 damage cap on the crits, 184,000. 184,000. That's pretty great. I like that. Yeah, he does look similar to Claude. His skill 2 has always been very fast. Just look at this. It's always been very good. So the question of is he better than Claude is interesting. Like, we have a lot of good fire damage dealers in the game. We've got Knuckles, we've got Shift, Magius, obviously we've got Claude, probably some other ones. Yeah, in PvE, if the boss, if you can break the boss and if they have weakness, then that is 100% Stahn's going to be better in that scenario. But if they don't have weakness and you can't break the boss, I still think he looks pretty solid so far, right? Because you're hitting 100 and now he's in break. Look at this damage cap. 247,000. That's his maximum potential right there. But this is not even including learnt skills. He doesn't have any other skills equipped, just his base skills. So that's pretty good. Pretty damn good, for sure. He's definitely going to be one of the better fire damage dealers in PvE content. If you can take advantage of his break and hitting weakness, he's definitely going to be very strong. That's why I think he's a good unit to have on anyone's account, honestly. If you get his insight skills for his damage cap, then he starts becoming pretty good. and getting his paid equipment's definitely going to help out a hell of a lot. If you do plan to use Stahn, then I do recommend to try and get his paid sword in the Crimson Ore Shop, and then God Forging it if you can, because it's a pretty good one. It gives you even more break and even more damage cap and even more damage, so definitely get that if you care about him in PvE. I don't see him being useful in arena and guild battles because the meta has just changed a hell of a lot since the past, so, and his insight doesn't really help him out to make him work in PvP, so I just think he's more of a PvE unit now, which is fine. I think it's going to be great. Let's test it out one more time. I didn't really try skill 3. His skill 3 is not as good as his skill 2, but I still think it's solid. It does have good break, I believe, right? It's still pretty fast, right? Yeah, I do really like this. It's great. Let's try a special out just to see it. You know what? The damage cap definitely better than I was expecting from the special. It's looking pretty good. It's definitely going to be pretty good. I do like seeing this. Yeah, I do like this. It's definitely going to be a great unit to use, but one thing to keep in mind is if you're not hitting fire weakness and the enemy's not in break, then I don't think it's worth using him. Yeah, I don't think it's worth using him if you can't hit their weakness and you can't break the enemy. If they have weakness, he's still worth considering to use, but if you can't hit their weakness, then I don't think it's going to be anything crazy. Yeah, not overpowered, but a unit doesn't have to be overpowered all the time, right? Like, yes, he's pretty good. He's good at what he does, and he's definitely going to be a solid unit to use, and it's going to be useful for most people if you still have content that you haven't finished yet, then he's still going to be pretty good. But, like, on my main account, if I didn't have Stahn, I don't think it would be worth pulling just for him because my main account has already completed everything, so because of that, it's not as useful. But if you still have content that you need to complete, I think it's going to be useful for sure. Definitely. Definitely get the sword if you have one option, because the sword helps out a hell of a lot more than his paid armor, because the sword gives a lot of break, which is very useful because he is a breaker, and the damage helps out a lot, and the damage cap is just ridiculous, especially when you get this to max level. The damage cap is pretty damn high, so definitely try to get that max level before the event ends. Stahn, definitely a solid unit, and a unit worth having on anyone's accounts, because he's pretty good for PvE content, but if you don't care about that, or if you've done everything for PvE, then not super necessary. But because my account is newer, I definitely think Stahn's going to be quite useful, and for more casual players, Stahn's going to be quite fun, and it might be worth putting a few crystals on his banner, on the Redux banner, to hope to get him. Really depends on how much you're missing from the Redux, I think. So let's go over to the next unit next, which is Luke. My personal favourite unit on this list is Luke. I've always liked him. When he released, I didn't think he was going to be as good as Stahn, but once I properly understood how he worked, he ended up being stupidly broken because of his extra attacks. I just want to show you in his trait. It was his trait 2, when unit or allies are attribute attacking with a skill or magic, chance to give the FOF buff. When it's given, deal powerful extra attack of the attribute when the next skill is used. This is why he's so good. If he didn't have this FOF buff, he probably wouldn't be that great of a unit, but because he has that buff, that's what makes him so good, because if you don't know what it does, it basically doubles your hit counts completely, and doubling your hit counts for a dual wield unit is basically like quadruple wielding, having like 4 weapons. It's ridiculous, but obviously it's only for the next skill used, and it's a chance, so yeah, it's kind of, you know, not as reliable, but it's still incredibly good and very fun. Well, I talked about part 1 earlier. I will talk about conclusion and stuff later on, but just quickly, the part 1 banner, everything in the part 1 banner is good. Velvet and the Arc, both very strong. You can't go wrong with either of them. Let's have a look at what his insight skills are. So he gets Fighting Spirit Max from Insight, which is pretty nice. Now, one very good one here that he just got from his Insight is Brute Buster. He didn't have Brute Buster before, so this one's a very nice. Yeah, I'm just kind of not great, which was sad. I thought he was going to be good, but no, it turned out he wasn't. Auto Haste, quite good. I do like that. Unclad Toughness, I don't think that is that important, is it? No, it just gives defense. Whatever, doesn't really care. Don't care about that too much. Light Attack Race 4. That one's a very nice one, giving more damage and damage cap, very good. Light Drive Breakthrough 2, I believe, is more damage cap. Yep, there it is. 3,000 more damage cap. He's going to be dual wield all the time, so 3,000 damage cap. Any form of damage cap on this unit is a huge difference, because he is heavily targeted to extra attacks because of his FOF buff, and increasing his damage cap as much as possible is going to be super important. So that's why any form of damage cap is going to be a huge increase to Luke. Next one, Combo Master 3. That's going to be great because he has a hell of a lot of hits, especially when he has his FOF buff. This one gives damage cap and damage, even more damage cap, love it. Damage does help as well. And the last one being Holy Armor 2, which, it's whatever really, it doesn't increase his damage, but it can help a little bit. So those were all the insight skills that were added to his kit. Everything else was already on his kit, so I don't need to mention those. Still a very nice kit. I love this kit, it's very nice. Do remember the chamber skills. If you want maximum skill damage and damage cap, make sure to only set this one and remove the other two. That's what I would do. So, insight to every other older collab unit, I really hope so. I think they might do it because it really depends on the reception of this collab. If they notice that more people are pulling on the Redux banner and more people are building these Redux units for Insight, then I think they will definitely do Insight for collab units in the future, 100%. At least for Redux units. I think it's highly likely. So if Amelia were to get a rerun, and her getting Insight would be pretty crazy, wouldn't it? But I think what they would do with Amelia would be just give her damage cap. I think they would not want to increase her damage by much more if they were to do that. But yeah, it's definitely a good idea, and I do like it because it gives more ways to use your Insight materials, and it's just fun having more up-to-date units on Insight. I just think it's great. It's a great idea. So, Insight skills down here. I love these. First one, my personal favorite one here. Light damage cap plus 30,000. 30,000 damage cap. Luke definitely needed it. This 30,000 damage cap is definitely going to be a massive increase. It's ridiculous how much of an increase this is for him. It's a hell of a lot, especially when he has his FOF buff. It's amazing. Special damage cap, don't really care too much about that. Never really use a special that much, but can be something. Skill 2 stock, definitely very nice. Increase the maximum stock of his second skill by 1. Very good. And then the others are just boosting resistance, which don't really care about that too much. So he does have some very nice insight skills. The insight skills up here, like attack race 4 and the damage caps, very nice. Definitely recommend to get those. And especially this one, the light damage cap plus 30,000. Make sure to get this one. Level it up maximum because damage cap on this unit is super important. Any form of damage cap is going to be a big increase. So if you plan to use Luke, which I am definitely going to get Luke on this account. If I don't manage to get him from tickets, I'm going to use my trade ticket on him. That's what I'm going to do. He's definitely going to be very good. His paid equipments, Godforge paid equipments, I definitely recommend to get his sword, continuous Grand Brave, light physical damage 20% and damage cap 3,000, strength 5%. Reason why is damage cap. Just the simple answer is damage cap is the main reason why I think you should get a sword, because damage cap is super important for him. He's only a PvE unit. He's not good in arena or guild battles at all. Don't worry about that. It's only PvE content. He works great with Trishula, by the way. The accessory, I don't think I ever got this accessory, honestly. I don't think it's that useful. I wouldn't worry about that. Just get a sword and get that God Forge max level is going to be very good. Yeah, getting units to level 120 takes quite a lot of time compared to getting units to level 100. It's, I highly recommend, if you're struggling with it, focusing on one unit and spend all your time focusing on that one unit to build them up as much as you can. That's what I was doing with Leonardo on this account, building him as much as possible. And don't spread out your resources too much. I have been leveling up units to level 100 just for the crystals, but leveling up the units is easier than getting the materials, I think. So let's try out Luke right now. I think this is going to be pretty exciting because I am looking forward to seeing what his damage cap looks like with insight skills at base skills. This could be pretty fun. So base skill stocks, pretty nice. So this may look underwhelming at first when I use the first skill, but trust me, wait. So 78,000 damage cap, pretty great on a crit, right? But what's this? Have a look at this. Light FOF buff, wow. Watch this. Watch what happens when I press this button. So light spear cannon. I still love this unit. He's very fun. He makes the game lag. It's ridiculous. So I pressed the skill 3. "64 hits, and he got skill back. 64. Look at that ridiculous damage. Like, yes, it's not the most damage cap in the game, right? But you don't need it because you're doing 64 hits with a skill 3, right? But it gets better. You know why? You can increase it even further by putting on Icy Guardian and the whatever the Starbow arc is. I don't have either of those yet, but those would be lovely on this unit because that would be even more hit counts. Now, just a reminder, his base hit counts for skill 3 without the FOF buff is 32, so it's pretty much doubling it, right, when you have the buff. Usually what I did was I just spammed skill 1 or skill 2 until I saw the buff, and then when you see the buff, it's not giving me the buff, give me the buff, I want it. The buff, the chance to get the buff is a lot higher if you have a full team, okay? I'll keep that in mind. If you have a Nilahar on your team, it's going to be a hell of a lot quicker to get that buff active, because it does apply when, you know, your allies attack as well for that attribute. "24 on skill 2 and 32 on skill 3, and now if I use that, now I've got the buff, you can see it there, the light icon, I use it again. 64. I still think it's crazy. I love it. It's definitely one of my, you know, more favourite units. It's very fun. I want to use it on his skill 2. There it is, and use skill 2. 48. It's pretty sick. Not gonna lie, I love it. Like, yeah, he's not hitting damage cap yet. On most of the normal hits, he's not hitting damage cap, right? But you can fix that. These are just base skills. His damage cap is already looking pretty damn strong, right? 78,000. And then you add on the fact... Actually, you know what? I'm going to do some math for you. You know why? Because I like math. 78,000. Actually, 79,000. Right? Times by 64 gives you 5 million. It's funny, but it's 5 million. It's not even his maximum potential either. That's what's funny. is it goes even higher. You can see how much I like this unit, right? Let's do this again. I didn't even use a special either. 5 million damage in one skill free if you have the buff. Can be even higher if you have Icy Guardian or whatever. Let me just show you what the special's like. I don't think it's going to be anything crazy though. I do remember it because I remember using his special in time trials. I used to use Luke a lot in time trials when it came out. It was great. Okay, let's finish this off now. So keep spamming skills until you see the buff, and then when you see the buff, you can use your skill 3. If you don't have a skill 3, then use your skill 2. $80,000. Wow. Wait a minute, let me change it to 8,000. 8,000 times 64 is 5.1 million. I love these numbers. It's great. Definitely one of my favorite units. He's very fun. I love that. It's going to be great to mess around with him. Yeah, the skill 3 is so great, and try using it in multiplayer. It's going to lag out the game just completely. It like grabs him up and then does a bunch of stabs, and it's awesome. I do like him. If I were to choose Luke or Stahn, it really depends on the account, but my personal favorite is Luke because he just has more potential to be more useful, because you can give him Trishula and have a sword plus Trishula and use him in more content, and it's just more, you know, easier to use because you can use him in more different stages, right? You can just put on Trishula. But Stahn, in the right scenario, very strong, can perform better than Luke in certain scenarios, but Luke is just more, you know, can be easier to use in more scenarios, so I think they're both very solid. Now let's move on to the last unit here, which is Yuri. Yuri is my least favourite one. I didn't use him that much when he came out. I used him a little bit in PvP, but apart from that, I was never a fan of him just because his skills were kind of slow and it just wasn't that great. But let's see exactly what they have done with him. I still think he's useful. So, apparently he has Human Saber 2, which is new. I mean, you can call any banner a bait banner. There were no bait banners. People have been talking about bait banners, and I'm just like shaking my head. Like, what are you talking about? The people saying the starter dash banner being a bait banner is the stupidest thing I've ever heard in the game. Like, anyone says something like the starter dash banner is bait is just an idiot. If you've seen my reroll guide the other day, the starter dash banner is just ridiculously strong, and is even still worth pulling on, even though there's a collab. The starter dash banner is still got more value because it's got so much stuff on it for what it's worth. It's so good. So Human Saber 2, more damage and damage cap to human types. He does have a lot more to human types, so it's more of a human type, you know, unit against human types. He's also got Heroism up 3, just some stats, okay. Auto high protection, that's pretty nice. Earth Giga Drive, very nice. Damage and damage cap. If you manage to get the arc, you can have Earth Giga and Mega Drive on this unit, would be pretty good. Earth Attack Raise 4, very nice, more Earth damage and damage cap. So having Earth High Drive and Giga Drive and Earth Attack Raise 2 and 3 and 4 and Critical Raise, they're all pretty nice skills, honestly. And then the last one being Overdrive, which I never really care about too much. Chance for specials deal crit damage and special crit damage cap 10,000, whatever. So his insight skills so far up here, they're okay. They are pretty good because some are adding damage and damage cap, like the Earth Giga Drive and the Earth Attack Race 4 skills are very nice. And the Human Saber 2 can be decent if you're going up against human type enemies, can be pretty good. But apart from that, nothing that crazy. Now let's go over to the insight skills down here, which should be, I'm hoping these should be pretty good, right? So, obviously we've got the damage cap. Earth damage cap plus 20,000. I don't know why they gave Yuri plus 20,000 damage cap, and they gave Luke even more damage cap than Yuri. It's a bit weird to me. But okay. Special damage cap, a hell of a lot. That's funny. I think it's 20,000, isn't it? No, that's 200,000. Yeah, 200,000. What? Okay, fine. I think a special has low hit counts anyway, doesn't it? If I remember correctly. Oh yeah, it was. He was the unit that was broken in the guild thing. Bosses, you know. Guild battle bosses thing. Here we go. Overlord buff active, skill damage 30%, damage cap 20,000. That does help. That does make it better, yeah. Okay, pretty good. Paid equipment, scored forge, second star's pretty good. Earth damage, physical damage, damage cap 2,000, anti-type damage, damage cap, critical rate, it's pretty good. The accessory might be better. Strength defense 10%, physical magic damage taken minus 5% when you have the Overlord buff active, or whatever the OL buff means. Overdrive, OL buff. I keep saying Overlord, but it's probably not, because I'm thinking of the collab. It's not that. It's something else. Earth attack damage 25% and damage cap 3,000. The accessory might be better. Yeah, over limit. I got there eventually. I didn't actually, but yeah, over limit. It's just OL, whatever. Is his skill, which all these Redux units will have, I think. So yeah, pretty good. The sword is quite good, especially if you get it to max level, it could be pretty good. But here's the thing, it's got anti-type damage, right, and damage cap, but he doesn't have that many slayers. He's got human, buster, but I believe that's it, right? It doesn't have any more slayers than that. So it's kind of whatever. Let's try him out now. I'm interested to see what his damage cap looks like. I believe he's the type of unit that has a lot of special damage cap, and you have to have the overlords, the over limits. You have to have the over limit buff active for him to do something good, for him to actually be useful. 74,000 is still worse than Luke, but Dragon Swarm has always been a very slow skill. I've never been a fan of it. But now let's use over. Wait a minute. I remember how these units work. You have to level up the limit gauge thing by spamming skills. And then when it gets to max level, which might be level 3, I don't remember, I might as well use it. Use the over limit buff, right? And then it gives him the buff there. And now look at his damage cap difference. 107,000 is now actually something decent, right? Obviously it's not even close to Luke, but you know what Yuri does have that the other units don't? Ether Burst. Use all MP to greatly restore the unit's HP and fully restore SCT. Pretty good, but I don't... Can this be used on other units? I think so, right? Or not? Can it not be used on allies? Because if it can't, then it's not going to be that useful. I don't remember, because I never really used him that much. Let's use the special just to try this out. This should be a hell of a lot of damage cap, right? But low hit counts, if that's what I remember. Yeah. Oh. Oh yeah, that. I remember that. Oh wow. So that's kind of his main gimmick, right? I can't read that number. What's that number? 6 million? Something like that. Yeah, that's pretty funny. But, yeah. I think Yuri is my least favourite. He's not as useful as the other two units. I think Stahn and Luke are better. Yuri, for PvE content, is just, he can work, but I just think you're better off using Luke in most cases, you know. Unless you want Ether Bursts, if you want to take advantage of that for the SCT, then yes, you could use him. If you don't have any SCT options, then that is when he can be useful. But if you do have SCT options, then Luke and Stahn are just better. So, I think these Redux units are pretty damn good. Luke is definitely going to be my favourite one to get and use. He's going to be so fun. It's going to be great. Especially with Trishula, all those extra hits are going to be so good. And Stahn, just going to be an amazing strong unit as well. Maybe he'll even be used in the time trial, who knows. Probably not, but I never know. You never know. Till you know, you know. So, yeah, definitely these two units are options. Yuri can be an option if you're missing, you know, SCT regen, like Ether Burst can be good, but apart from that, you're probably still better off going for Luke or Stahn. So, very good insight units. Now, because I've talked about that, let me just quickly go back to this trade ticket. So now you know exactly what these units do and what you should be spending your ticket on. I still think Ultra Kronos probably has the most value, maybe, but that's only if you think you can take advantage of Swordian Might. If you don't see yourself using Swordian Might, then probably go for Luke or Stahn. Luke and Stahn are probably the two best units from the Redux, and two of the best things from the Redux banner. So, Stahn and Luke, definitely recommend get one of those at least. Ultra Kronos, if you care about the, you know, Swordian Might skill. If you don't, then get Luke or Stahn. That's what I would do. And don't use it yet, because there is a, go to special, there's a Redux banner here. You can set the rate up, so you can select one of the units. I selected Luke, and then you can select one of the arcs, which would be Ultra Kronos, but because I've already got it, this is the least useful arc. I don't even want it, but you have to select an arc. And then you go to probability, and the probability is actually 1.2% instead of 0.8% for the selected unit and arc, so it's pretty good. But don't waste all your crystals on this banner. I did about 45 pulls and I got 2 arcs. After that, I probably just recommend to not pull that banner until the end and just see what you get. So, pretty good stuff so far. I do think Luke is going to be pretty damn strong, honestly. I'm quite interested to see what his DPS ends up being when he has, you know, full insight, max skills and everything. Could be pretty fun. Come on. You're lying, I do have internet. You're just lying to me, game. So, I think that's everything I wanted to talk about for now, isn't it? If you go to Trading Space, the Crimson Ore shop has the paid equipments for these units. I think I will, when I get 4,000 Crimson Ore, I think I'm just going to get Luke's paid sword. Actually, while I'm here, let's go to the Alchemy and show the paid equipments at max level. Here we go. So at max level, it's pretty great. Stahn's sword at max level, looking pretty damn strong. Damage cap plus 10,000 when hitting weakness, very good. This one, the only difference being more light physical damage and more damage cap and some more strength. I still think it's a very good one. Definitely try and get that one if you get Luke. Definitely his best one. Damage cap, yeah, it's good, but I won't use Yuri. Even if I get Yuri, I probably won't use him, honestly. Stahn's armor, I don't think it's necessary. Luke's coat, I don't think it's necessary either. It's just not good for PvE. And then Yuri's accessories, okay. So yeah, I think Stahn's sword and Luke's sword are probably my 2 favourite ones, funnily enough. I think I'll get Luke's sword the most, because that just seems like the most useful to me. If you get Stahn, then get Stahn's sword. If you get Luke's sword. So try and get both if you get both. I'll leave that there. The event itself doesn't have much to it, but it's more of a normal event that we always have. It's just, you know, stages and stuff. I wish there was a world map, but it's still pretty decent for farming stuff. Yeah, I think I'll leave it there for today. Somehow I managed to cram all of that information in 2 hours, which was actually quite impressive because I didn't think I would be able to manage that. But Velvet Crowe, great unit. The Arc, great Arc. The Redux units, all very strong. Luke and Stahn, my favourite. Might as well do my conclusion now. So, conclusion on this collab, I do think this collab's a very good collab for sure. The arcs don't have that much value compared to some other collabs. It does have, like, Sodium Might, which is a decent, you know, learnable skill, but the other Redux arcs are not that crazy, so Redux stuff, not that great. But the units on the Redux, very strong, especially Luke and Stahn, definitely my 2 favourite ones. The new things on this collab though, the part 1, having Velvet Crowe and the Compass arc, both are very strong. If you get either one, they are both very good. Velvet Crowe is going to be a great unit for sure, because of her, you know, anti-all enemy type effect. Is going to be so good because that basically gives her Slayer against every single enemy type in the game, and it's just, she's going to be a very easy to use unit that you can just shove in any of your teams as long as the enemy does not have ridiculously high dark resistance, and then you can just, you know, clear most enemies quite easily. So she's going to be great, and I'm looking forward to getting her when I get her at some point later on. If I get lucky, hopefully. I'll get her eventually. It's going to happen. And the Compass arc does have a hell of a lot of value on this arc, honestly. It's got a very good trait. Learnable skills, pretty damn good. Giant Killing 2, if you don't have it, very nice one. Shadow Rush can be good on Velvet Crowe, of course, and same thing with this Gauntlet Blade. Bout Technique, very good on Velvet Crowe. And this Compass can be useful for the SCD. It's a very nice one to have for PvP. Even for PvE, it can allow you to use your skill free sooner, and that might allow you to farm a bit quicker, so that does come in handy, I think. So a very good banner here. Don't waste all your crystals yet. Try and wait for part 2 if you can, and use all your tickets first of all. Maybe do the daily pulls if you can. It's up to you. We've still got Leonardo's banner, honestly. He's a good unit, but because we have a collab right now that is pretty good, with a lot of stuff in, I don't think it's worth pulling on Leonardo's banner unless you have spare crystals. It's still got another 2 weeks, so next week is part 2, which has the other units and arc. So technically Leonardo will still be up by then, but I still don't recommend pulling on him that hard. It is a decent banner, right? Leonardo's pretty good. I've been using him on this account as my main damage dealer. He's been carrying me through the story. He's pretty useful, but it's a collab. Definitely focus on the collab more. It's more useful. And the Redux banner, don't pull too hard on this, but if you are missing everything on this Redux banner, like I am, then putting a few crystals on this banner is a good idea, because it does have a lot of useful things here. Like Ultra Kronos is very good for the, you know, Sodium Might skill. The other arcs you don't really need too much. Brave Vesperia can be useful for the Earth Mega Drive, I think. Stahn and Luke are very good, so getting those 2 arcs and those 2 units would be the best case scenario. So I think you should either select Stahn or Luke here, and then the arc, definitely Ultra Kronos if you don't have it, and then you can confirm that, and then it'll be a 1.2% chance for each of the rate up unit and arc. So 1.2% for the unit, 1.2% for the arc. Pretty good banner, I think. Definitely a higher chance than normal. Not a bad idea to put a few crystals on this banner, just don't waste everything on this banner like some people have, because we do get more tickets available later on, and you never know, could get something. But a couple of singles is a good idea, because the Redux does actually have some good stuff in. We also have Great Hero Adele, this banner. Now, Great Hero Adele is a great unit. I'm not going to talk about him that much, just want to mention him, that he is here if you care about him at all. Maybe you can do the lap 1 of the step gacha, because he does have this step gacha right here, and the lap 1's pretty cheap. I managed to get Great Hero Adele from the lap 1 step gacha, so maybe if you have a couple of paid crystals, maybe do lap 1 if you care about getting him. If you are a newer player, Great Hero Adele is one of the better units to get for sure, but obviously you would much prefer to reroll for Velvet Crowe probably, because she's just a collab unit. So Adele, Shift Adele is more accessible than collab units, so I would recommend to pull on Velvet Crowe more. Maybe do a couple singles on Shift Adele, that's up to you. So that's everything for today, I think. I think this collab's going to be very fun, and there's definitely a lot of stuff to do, because we have insight for the Redux units, which just adds a lot more to do in this event, honestly, and I do like that. If you are interested in those units and you want to build them, then now you have another way to increase their damage and their potential even further than before. So I do think that's pretty fun, and Luke and Stahn is definitely going to be my two favourite ones, so it's going to be very strong for PvE content, and I like that, so I think Redux pretty good. And then the part 1 so far looking pretty damn strong, with Velvet Crowe and the Compass arc looking very strong. So try to get something from all of those banners if you can. Don't spend all your crystals yet, because we've still got part 2 to come up next week, and then there's still another week after that, I believe, for the time trial and stuff. So we've still got time. Don't waste all your crystals yet. I did do quite a lot of summers today, but that's because I'm missing everything, and I think everything here is very good, so I don't mind putting a few crystals on these banners, because they're all very good banners. So yeah, I'm going to leave that there. Hopefully I can get Velvet Crowe in the next week or 2. That would be great. I think what I'm going to do is probably do the daily gacha every day and hope to get Velvet Crowe, and also hope to get her from tickets from the event and stuff as well. One thing to keep in mind is if you go to the news, this collab repost thing, make sure to do this, and we'll be able to get 5 tickets for the Redux part 1 and part 2. So keep in mind that we do get more tickets later on, as long as we get this promo done. So make sure to do that, and then later on we will be able to get more tickets. That's what I'm waiting for, and the event should have more tickets next week, I'm hoping. If you go into the event today and do the first couple of stages, which I believe are these stages, yeah, this stage, you can get a temple ticket for part 1 right here, so make sure to do this. If you are re-rolling, it is a very good idea to get this temple ticket as part of your re-roll right now, so do that if you can, because that's another way to get another temple, just in case you can get, you know, Velvet Crowe. If you manage to get a good re-roll, try that ticket just in case. Make sure to do the challenges, and yeah, pretty fun collab. I definitely like this collab, especially on a new account like this. I personally am enjoying the game and the collab a lot more than I would have been because I'm on this account, and because I'm not worrying about pulling every single thing and not worrying about PvP. It just feels a lot more fun to me at this point. So I'm going to be continuing to be on this account for the foreseeable future, and we'll see how it goes, but I'm really hoping I get Velvet later, because I definitely want to get her. That's why I'm saving my medals for now, because I do want to get her. Even if it requires pity, I'm going to get her eventually, because I'm going to collect all my favourite units. That's my goal on this account now. I must collect every unit that I like the most going forward, so I'm going to be doing that. I'll leave it there for today. Hopefully everyone has a nice collab and you've enjoyed the stream. I will be adding the timestamps a bit later on, because I have some things I need to do in a moment, and then I'll come back and then I'll add the timestamps, so just wait a little bit. But if you're in the future, then don't worry about it. Check the timestamps and go to the part of the video that you want to see, and hopefully it helps you out. And yeah, I'll see everyone in next Thursday, actually, not 2 weeks, in a week, which should be part 2. I don't know what to expect in part 2. Obviously it's going to have a unit and an arc, but I don't know their kit yet, and I don't know what the arc has yet. So because of that reason, try and save some crystals for it just in case. I'm not super excited because I just want Velvet Crowe, so the second unit doesn't excite me as much as Velvet Crowe does, so we'll wait and see. Hopefully we can get something good from tickets. Hopefully everyone can get something good from tickets, because tickets rarely gives me anything. But yeah, I'll leave it there. It's been about 2 hours 15 minutes. Pretty nice, honestly. Surprised I managed to fit everything in 2 hours 15 minutes. I'll see everyone in 2 weeks.